And welcome back to our video on demand section as we talk with our various political candidates throughout this campaign season. With us today, Wayne Ivey, the Republican running for sheriff in Brevard County. Wayne, thanks for taking the extra time in the show or after the show to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And Bill, again, thank you for all you've done for the voters in Brevard County. You bring on all the candidates, you interview them and talk to them, give everybody a good chance to understand what they're all about.
Try to have some fun, and it's an enjoyable part of this job. I really do like it. Let's talk a little bit about the sheriff's job. Should you be elected to sheriff? And you said in the show, yes, you should. I like that, actually. Let's talk about staffing allocations as they are. Every sheriff gets to structure the department as he sees fit. Tell me what you like about the structure now and what changes you might consider if you're elected.
You know, the thing I like about the structure now is it is more than well doing the job. It is making sure we're blanketed with coverage across the board in all aspects. Our road patrol, our communications, our corrections, all of them inclusive. Where I see that I'd like to go in and evaluate and eventually make some changes is in streamlining how we do business. I think it's not only a cost-effective measure, but I think it's a direction of having consistency across the board. You know, we have 5 different precincts, and each of them have their own commander, and then they have a chief that sits above them. Where I see there's automatically a need for flexibility. You have to be flexible in your approach to administering law enforcement services. What I would like to see is a little bit of change in consistency of those services, how we deliver them across. Certainly logistics and geography play a part in that, but in all of our documentation and all of our shifting, everything else, I'd like to see us become a little bit more streamlined. The good news is... So
a deputy transferring from one to another would pretty much know what to expect.
Exactly. Sees no change, yeah.
As a former line guy, I appreciate the thought.
Yeah.
Because it could be tough.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I want to do. The good news is I have an opportunity to go in and progressively make those changes because we are a very sound agency. As I've said to many people, oftentimes when a new sheriff takes over, an agency head, or even a CEO of a company, they inherit an unhealthy organization. I'm very blessed. If I'm so lucky to be sheriff, I'm very blessed to inherit a healthy agency that gives us the ability to build on that foundation, make the needed changes, make the innovative changes, and do them in a time frame that is not going in and perhaps doing something that we got to change back later. So we get to go in, we evaluate it, make sure it's working properly. If not, we make our changes and go.
Let's talk a little bit about the budget for this agency, and Jack Parker has been successful in working with his county commission at getting the budget he needed to do the job and set up the agency as you see it, as you just talked about it. What do you like and what do you see in a budget when it comes to adequately equipping and training the men and women who work in this department?
Yeah. One of the things that I will say, well, actually there's a lot of things I'll say about Sheriff Parker, the good deeds and good things that he's done, but universally they've made sure, he and his team have made sure that our deputies, our corrections members, all of them across the board have the tools they need. Again, you know, we talked earlier in the live portion of the show about IT. I think we can make some improvements in IT. The budget is going to dictate how soon we can make those improvements, because anytime you start talking about IT components and changing programs and software and everything else, you're looking at substantial investments that you're going to make. But equipment-wise across the board, I think we've done a good job in getting them. We can always do better, and there's always new technology out there that's coming in. The secret to the budget is to filter that in and bring it in where it's cost-effective, bring it in where we're not overburdening the budget and taking from one area that we don't need to. So, you know, the other aspect of that is in their crime prevention arena, I really want to do some things where our crime prevention is out helping people not become victims. For example, there's a program out there called Cop Dots that's coming out. It's basically DNA for your property. It's serial numbers that are put secretly on your information, on your TV, on your weapons, on your car. You can put it on your dog, for that matter, put it on their collar. And law enforcement has the tools that reads that and tells me that belongs to Bill Mick. So I'm looking. You know, historically, when you and I started, we told people to etch their Social Security numbers on the back of their TVs. Well, we don't do that anymore. Technology is taking the lead on this. So a lot of different tools that we can bring to the table, and I'm certainly going to be looking to bring to the table.
Very good. That's nice to hear. Speaking of crime, let's take a look at what you see the biggest problems are in Brevard right now, and things you see that agency needing to focus on.
The biggest crime problems?
Yes.
There is no doubt. Violent. I can list them all for you. Violent crime, pill mills, our economic crimes, the frauds that are taking place, and then our child exploitation. You can take those top four and start focusing on them right away. Every one of them changes at different levels. We've talked before about the statistics. Brevard County ranks 105th in the nation in the most incidents of fraud. That's alarming. We're being compared. It's based on per capita of 100,000 or more. We rank 105th in the nation. So you have to figure we're being compared with Boston, Orlando, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, New York, all of those that meet that criteria. And we're 105th. Dallas-Fort Worth's 119th. But yet we don't have a task force that focuses on economic crime. We have piecemeal, if you will, that is going out and working these crimes. We have to have a concerted effort. We have to have a three-prong approach, Bill. That three-prong approach our approach can't just be investigation. The first approach has to be prevention. Mm-hmm. If I prevent that crime, I don't need to investigate it. So I'm able to put my resources up front in the prevention aspect. If we fail in our prevention, then we investigate and solve that crime. The third tier of it is advocacy for our victims. You take some of our seniors that have lost their entire life savings to some of these scams that are going on. Bill, they have no recourse. They have nowhere to turn. Nobody's giving them their money back. Even if we get restitution back for the victim, the likelihood of them getting it back is very limited.
Right.
So we have to have some advocacy in place. We do have victims advocates, but right now they're overwhelmed with the violent crimes that are taking place and following in those steps, and they do a tremendous job in that area. But that's got to be our multi-pronged approach. Violent crime goes without saying. You and I have been battling violent crime throughout our entire adult lives.
Yep.
I think we'll see some of our violent crime rate come down when the new numbers are released. What we'll also see is our homicides are up in Brevard County this year. So, we've got to beat that number down. We've got to be able to get our. I'd love for our homicide rate to be zero. That's our ultimate goal.
Sure.
Is it a realistic goal? It's a realistic approach. We have to go after violent crime in every capacity, not just stopping a violent crime that occurs in a robbery. We have to go after it in domestic violence. We have to go after it in home invasions. All of these are inclusive. We've got to attack drug dealers, not just investigate. Bill, we have to attack them. We have to go after them, and you're going to see that. Sometimes, when you're running for office, people say, "Well, don't use attack. That's over aggressive." No, I'm going to attack crime. We're going to go after.
Well, when you talk about defending the community, I think
that's
a great
exactly
word.
right.
You mentioned prevention, Wayne, though, and there you go back into budgeting and personnel issues. Do you have enough people to conduct and enough resources to conduct the public education and the awareness that's necessary to be effective in prevention?
I believe we do. I think we can refocus some existing resources. My plan is I've looked at not only the budget but the org chart of that agency. I believe I can refocus existing resources to create not only a drug or economic crimes task force, but enhance our crime prevention. I use this analogy. I used to coach wrestling years ago, and absolutely passionate about it. I loved it. But when I took over the wrestling team at Vero Beach High School, I had 11 wrestlers, 14 weight classes. They had a wrestling team. When I left almost 10 years later, they had a wrestling program. They'd have 120 kids come out. They had a booster club. They had parent involvement. They had all sorts of different things that were taking place, feeder programs for these kids. We have to do that same thing right now. Right now we have a crime prevention unit. What I want us to build is a crime prevention program, a program that is going to be second to none. And quite frankly, my vision and my dream for that is for our crime prevention program to become so profound that other agencies will contact us and say, "How'd you do it? How'd you build that up?" That's the goal. Is it going to be done overnight? No, it's going to be a building block process that is going to do it. But it's going to be a systematic approach that's going to bring that to the table.
On the show, we were able to talk extensively about partnerships and task force work and working with other agencies. Give me just a minute or so on your vision for partnering with other agencies and task forces and the like.
We've done it from the very beginning. I was very fortunate to create the Child Abduction Response Team. And if you're not familiar with Child Abduction Response Team, when you have a child abduction, it is the most overwhelming investigation any agency will ever work. And what we found is you had plenty of resources because volunteers will come from all over the country. Mm-hmm. But what you don't have is an organized structure of doing it. And a task force provides that. So we created the CART team, pre-trained, pre-assigned people that came and knew what they were doing. One person was working, or a group of individuals were working on tracking down all the sex offenders. One group was working on logistics. Another group's working on the investigation. Another group's working on leads and information like that. Well, the same thing applies to our task force. Everybody has to check their egos at the door and come in for one mission, one team type approach to it. Our agencies here, I'm telling you, Bill, I'm very proud to be a part of this. They are second to none in that. I've worked all over this state, and I've never seen a county where all of the agencies work together so well. We got to build upon that. But our partnerships don't just extend to our brothers and sisters in public safety. They extend to our county commissioners. They extend to our business leaders, to our civic leaders, to our faith-based organizations, because true partnerships in crime prevention, true partnerships in approach to law enforcement extend in every one of those arenas. They extend to developing partnerships with our legislature to make sure that when we identify a crime problem, we've got somebody writing a bill for us to combat that crime problem. So if you're asking me from a partnership aspect, not only do I want us to develop these task forces that are going to save the taxpayers money, because they do. Game Over Task Force has arrested now almost 800 people, and they've done it with less overtime than any other unit out there.
Wow.
Because it's a structured partnership. There's a cost savings associated with it. There's a productivity measure that's deeply associated with it. And then there's just the aspect of it just makes sense. It's just good common sense for everybody to be focused on one mission, and that's what we have to do.
Very good. We didn't get to talk about it on the air, and we're about out of time, but I want to hear your thoughts on one of the big things that the sheriff does is manage the jail. I think Jack's done some great things at the jail. Sure. Give me your vision for jail operations quickly.
I'm very blessed to have experienced working in corrections. That's one of the
it's one area I avoided as a cop. No,
I started there,
Thanks.
and now I look back and I think, man, I'm so thankful because I understand the process. Now certainly a lot's changed in the last 31 years in that process, but I still understand what happens in there, and that's not an easy job. It is not. You are in a situation. Public trust is paramount to you.
You're dealing with doing a year or less, and you're doing 25.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. But my plans for that jail is to keep it as just a successful program that has been. But I want to build on some things, and one of the things I want to build on is looking towards self-sustainment. I want to see us take our work farm, create it at a higher level so that we're producing our own level of our own means of vegetables. We grow plants out there now that help supply the government buildings and different things around. But I think we can do a lot more in that. It's also we're utilizing free inmate labor to feed the jail, to be able to grow vegetables and everything else. Not long ago, I had a wrecker company that called me and said we had a truck, a semi-tractor trailer that overturned, and it's filled with vegetables from front to back. Can you use it? Do you know of a local civic organization that can use it? Called a couple of them. None of them had the freezer capacity to deal with that. Contacted one of our management team at the jail. They said, absolutely, we can take it. Later, what I found out was that truckload of vegetables saved the county about $5,000.
Wow, very good.
So if we can grow our own truckload of vegetables, if you will, we're going to be creating a cost savings. So a lot of different ideas, and as we said earlier, some of the best ideas that we're going to put into play are coming from the correction deputies that work there at that jail, coming from the patrol deputies that are riding around your neighborhood protecting you every day.
Very good. Folks want more information about Wayne Ivey or his campaign, best way to get it?
electwayneivey.com, and we'd love to see you visit our site, but you can always call me on my cell phone, too, at 321-271-6029.
Wayne Ivey, thank you for the time, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Bill.
We'll see you back here on WMMBAM.com.